Welcome to The Pure Perspective, the podcast where we explore the many pathways to recovery. I'm your host, Kyle Van Blerkum, and I'm thrilled to have you here with us today. At The Pure Perspective, we're on a mission to shine light onto the journey of healing, resilience, and hope. Each episode, we bring you powerful stories of individuals who have faced substance use and mental health challenges head-on, along with insights from trained professionals and family members offering unwavering support. Whether you're on your own path to recovery or seeking to understand the struggles and triumphs of others, you're in the right place. This podcast is a safe space for inspiration, connection, and growth. Get ready for candid conversations, heartfelt stories, and valuable insights right here on The Pure Perspective. Before we dive into today's incredible episode, I want to give a huge shout out to the amazing people over at Recovery Rockstars Group for their support. They've been gracious enough to allow us to share our upcoming episodes on their page. Your encouragement means the world to us. I also want to encourage everyone to check out the Recovery Rockstars Recovery Group on Facebook for some truly inspiring content. Their dedication to spreading hope aligns perfectly with our mission here at The Pure Perspective. And guess what? This collaboration is just the beginning. Stay tuned for more empowering stories, collaborations, and exciting content ahead on our podcast. Your support keeps us going and helps us shed light on the journeys of resilience and recovery. Thank you, Recovery Rockstars Group, and all of our listeners. Get ready for another amazing show. I'm delighted to introduce our next guest. She's a passionate advocate and professional, deeply entrenched in the field of mental health. Her journey is a testament to resilience, a brave confrontation of personal challenges, while dedicating herself professionally to breaking down barriers. Allana has bravely faced and overcome mental health challenges, navigated childhood trauma, and confronted the stigma surrounding these issues both professionally and in her private life. Her path led her to explore unconventional treatment methods, and today she'll share her invaluable insights with us. Get ready for an enlightening conversation as we delve into Allana's journey, highlighting resilience, breaking stigmas, and discovering unconventional yet powerful avenues for recovery. Without further ado.
My name is Allana Clymer, and I am a mom, wife, registered nurse. I also struggle with bipolar disorder. Going backwards, I grew up with some abuse, not my parents, at the hands of someone else. My parents did their best, and I truly believe that. I did harbor some anger towards them at times, though, for not keeping me safe. I think there's probably a pile of people out there saying, I can totally relate to that. In my teenage years, I started to know that there was something wrong with me. I knew something was wrong. I was afraid, though. In my teenage mind, I thought, if I were to tell people what was going on with me, I'd be put away, and that was a scary thing. I did bring up my concerns to some adults that were trusted. Unfortunately, I was told things like, well, you're too smart to have mental illness.
Oh, wow.
So things like that, which really didn't help me get further in my journey to healing, but really pushed me backwards because I wasn't seeking out help because I was hearing that that's not you. To gain some control in a very turbulent inside body, I developed an eating disorder. I was able to control that portion of my life. Was it healthy? Absolutely not. Yeah. Absolutely not. At that time, I was also exercising really a lot to raise those endorphins and try and help myself as well. Later in my high school years, my parents did involve a treatment team because I was so small. And the treatment team gave me medications. Unfortunately, we now know that that's exactly the wrong medication that you would give someone with the disorder I have. So when I wasn't doing well, they kept increasing the medication dose.
Oh, like You just need more.
Absolutely. I just need more meds. Another one and another one. But they were trying to teach me coping skills as well.
Sure.
I was so shut off, though, at that time. As a young person, I was fearful of adults and others. Again, I was fearful of being put away. The turbulence inside was significant. It's called a mixed episode of bipolar disorder. It's where you're agitated and sad at the same time. It's really hard to explain to others.
Can you talk a little bit about the two different types of bipolar?
Mm-hmm. Sure. So there's bipolar 1, which has, there's absolute episodes of mania.
Okay.
Where with bipolar 2, it's more hypomania, so a lower level of mania. Neither are fun.
Right.
Neither are a walk in the park. I wouldn't really compare either to people. We don't want to compare ourselves to each other. You have bipolar 1, I have bipolar 2. We just have bipolar and it stinks.
Yeah, absolutely.
So for all my bipolar friends out there that are 1 or 2, I'm behind you 100%. It's a hard road. I often thought I was high functioning until I realized I really wasn't. I really was not. I was trying to maintain this facade that I was okay all the time, and that takes up so much energy. It just sucks the energy out of you, trying to pretend, trying to hide, trying to be someone you're not, and you really can't with bipolar. Right. And all you can do is kind of hide when the episodes are significant. I have found some treatment paths that were really helpful. United Hospital has a partial hospitalization program, which I can't say enough good things about. They really have a great program there. It's great. So I really thrived with that program. Rogers Memorial in Oconomowoc, Wisconsin. I went there during 2020. I had a hard time during the height of the COVID pandemic. So I went there for a couple weeks and got my meds adjusted. Again, got some coping skills, kind of sharpened up. Got to work with some really amazing professionals. They're really, we're at least nationwide known facility. When I worked at one of the local substance use disorder treatment centers, we would, at times when it was more mental illness, we would send people that way.
Okay.
And I really took a lot away from Rogers Memorial as well. I think there's enough treatment options out there that there's something for everybody.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes you'll try something like I tried EMDR. Was not for me.
And what is EMDR?
Okay, so EMDR, now I don't remember what it exactly stands for, but I would have little tappers in my hands, and I'd have headphones. So it was kind of like making like a cross pattern in my brain.
Okay.
So you're kind of going one hemisphere to the other.
Yeah.
I did that for probably 3 months. I did not see significant help with that. To be honest with you, I felt like I went backwards. But many people have really great success with it. So I think when we look at treatment options, we have to consider, the individual. Everything, when I worked in mental health as a nurse, you always look at the person. You're not looking at the disease or the medication. You're looking at, now what works for Steve McQueen or Jane Fonda, and I'm making that up. I'm just using random names that come to my mind.
Right, but you have to. You mentioned it. You worked as a psychiatric nurse. You worked both on the substance use side and then in the psychiatric capacity. Can you talk a little bit about your background as a nurse?
Sure. So first of all, I love being a nurse. I love people. I love more than anything is sitting down with someone with substance use disorder, and sitting there and normalizing it for them, telling them it's not their fault, letting them know it's along the lines with lupus and asthma. It's not your fault. I'm here for you. Let's get through this together. And seeing people kind of like take a deep breath in and kind of relax into the moment, and you're like, yay, I got through to them. And
right.
And it's there's more to that, of course. Working with people with mental illness, of course, it hits close to home. I've had to try and kind of navigate away from it just because I do feel so strongly for people. Like my investment can be higher than it should be, like,
sure.
because I'll feel really bad
Right,
for people.
You can relate.
I can.
Put yourself in their shoes,
And so many people have gone through so many difficult things. And I'm a very tender-hearted person.
Yeah.
I worked with an older nurse who she could hug everyone, but I was 25, so that didn't work for me. But it's, I love working with people in different capacities, and just, teaching, helping people who have been literally on the streets, came into our IRTS facility program, helping them learn how to make food, how to take their meds regularly, what meds are for what. These are a lot of the things that people need to know so that they can function and then succeed when they leave the facilities.
So my previous guest actually brought up IRTS facility, and what does IRTS stand for? And is that something is that specific to Minnesota, or?
I'm not aware of them in Wisconsin, to be honest with you.
Okay,
However, being in this part of Wisconsin, it's hard to know if they actually do exist,
right,
like in Madison or Milwaukee.
Right.
But as far as I know, it's more of a Minnesota program. So it's intensive residential. How does it? Treatment. I forget the exact.
Got it. Okay. But it's more of an emphasis on mental health versus the substance use side.
Well, but a lot will have substance use, sure, as well. We, often had times people on methadone and different, Suboxone, different things like that, naltrexone,
sure, yeah.
all the owns. And so, so it was kind of a mixture of that. Oftentimes people with mental illness will self-medicate with substance use,
right,
which I get it. You don't feel right. You're trying to feel right. You're afraid maybe to go to your doctor. You're afraid to tell people what you're going through. That's one thing I'm hoping people take from this today is don't be afraid.
Yeah.
There's people like me that are working in these facilities that really just want to help you. That's our goal, is to get you on your journey, to help you in any way we can. So please don't be afraid. Please seek out that help you need.
Yeah.
Please know that there are people like me.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty powerful thing, just knowing, that people do work in the field with that lived experience, and I think, just knowing that it's pretty powerful. I guess, the thing I wanted to talk about is you feel like you found maybe a treatment option that has worked very well for you.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like you've tried kind of the gambit of these treatments. So I want to hear about this, and it might, I'll let you kind of delve into it, but.
Sure. So I spoke briefly about the history of abuse as a young person. I carried the diagnosis of PTSD. About 4 years ago, I would say I was pretty much a shell of a person. I was more of a freeze person, to be honest with you. I was having flashbacks, night terrors. I was hearing things that weren't there. I would hear like a crying child. I assumed that was myself. My PTSD was taking over my life. It was difficult.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people out there may be saying, "Hey, I hear you, girlfriend." And so I have tried many different treatments, like we had kind of discussed. So I was at the point where I really wanted help. I really wanted to find out what was behind the doors that I had been closing internally all these years, holding them shut, because I was afraid what was behind them.
Yeah.
And I wasn't ready to see. And so in 2019, I was ready. I wanted to know what I was holding back. I wanted to know, there's a lot of years I don't recall in my life. Probably 12 and below, there's a lot of missing information. So I wasn't really sure what to do. And I stumbled upon psilocybin-assisted therapy. And I thought, I want that. It's helping people with PTSD. I had watched a documentary, and the name of it, of course, slips my mind.
Right.
But it was out of Israel. And they were using psilocybins they were studying it as a treatment option. And I thought, I want to try that. Like, I am at the point where I want to see, I want to hear, I want to know what's behind those doors. I want to find some healing. Like, is there healing for me? Can I find it? And I was desperate enough that I was going to try this psilocybin-assisted therapy. Keep in mind, I didn't try alcohol till I was 19. I didn't try THC till I was 35. I am like a little...
Oh, wow.
I know. So I grew up in the DARE program, so, that's how it was for me. I was scared of straight kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
So for me to try psilocybin-assisted therapy, which was, not only a hallucinogenic, but illegal, I was like, that's not me. That's not Allana.
Right.
But that said, I was desperate. I was at that desperate moment of like, how do I get help? So me being me, I researched the researchers.
Right.
I researched to see who was advocating for this. And I found the closest doctor to me.
Would you say that was a hard process?
Actually not.
Okay.
I don't know if it's because I'm a persistent, detective type person or what. But I called the doctor, and I, kind of waited in, with tiptoes, and because you're like, I don't know how to talk about this.
How to bring this up.
Right. How do you bring it up without feeling kind of awkward? But it was awkward, and that's, of course, that's okay. I was willing to put myself out there at that point. Yeah. And he said, yes, I do that. So we made an appointment. Again, I'm throwing myself under the bus. This was done underground. And the physician that I worked with, fantastic, amazing individual, met for kind of like let's see if this is going to be appropriate for you. Sure. And so we met, went over kind of like what I was experiencing, my past, my present, my why. And things were aligning. And some things they just align. Yeah, absolutely. And so you're like, I think this is right for me because it's aligning, and let's try this. Yeah. And so I signed up to do it. And of course I was anxious, nervous. Yeah. But at the same time I was excited because I really wanted to feel better. Yeah. I wanted more than anything was to feel better. And I'm positive there's people out there right now who are saying, I gotcha, girl, and I hear you. And so I came in, and it was kind of like a routine where my husband dropped me off. He gave me the psilocybin. I chewed it up and swallowed it and had a little chocolate to kind of take that taste out of your mouth.
Yeah.
We went outside his office in the back area and did some yoga.
Yeah.
I believe that, so because it's kind of like a countdown. Once you take it, there's like a timeline.
Sure.
So we did yoga, gentle yoga. Then he brought me back into the office, and I laid down in the bed, and he put it was like almost like a pelt, like a fur pelt that he put on top. And then I started deep breathing. And he led me through deep breathing until you're kind of shot to the moon.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing I remember in the experience was feeling like I was one with the universe, like I was kind of these particles flowing through the universe. I would liken that to perhaps what you would feel when you die. And so coming out later, I didn't realize I had a fear of death. Absolutely didn't think that, but I did. And that was going through that first couple minutes. I wasn't afraid of death anymore. And I felt this peace. And it was amazing. And I wanted it for everybody.
Yeah.
Especially hospice patients.
Yeah, no kidding.
I think I really hope that will be something that happens in the future, because I know when I'm getting closer to that time, I would want that experience again, just to feel a little more peace.
Yeah.
So further into the experience, at one point I felt like I was surrounded by my ancestors, and it was a very healing feeling to feel that support and the love, and just it's so hard to explain. It's very hard to explain. And so when I went into this experience, the doctor said, kind of pull things out of it when you come out, and then that's what we'll kind of focus on when you come back.
Yeah.
At this point, for I don't know how many years, it was 2019, so I don't have as much memory of all the things that I pulled out of it.
Yeah.
But the most important thing I pulled out of it was, in my mind, I let go of those doors.
Mm-hmm.
The doors of trauma. And there was nothing behind them. I had remembered already everything that I needed to remember. Or that's how I took it.
Yeah, yeah.
Because there's nothing there. And having that ability to take a deep breath and exhale and realize, wow, I'm okay. I had this behind these doors. There's nothing there. I'm okay. After the experience, my husband picked me up. I remember everything being so vibrant. I have to back up a second. So when you do the experience, you are wearing eye covers. So you are hallucinating inwards. And that is a big part of how it works, and works with the neurons in your brain. So that's an important part that I need to back up. So you're actually
blindfolded, essentially. Okay.
Correct. But they're blindfolds where you can open your eyes and it's just dark.
Sure.
So you're not forced to have your eyes closed, which is pleasant.
Yeah.
So I remember leaving, and everything was so vibrant and bright, and I felt at peace. And I was like, holy cow, I've been wanting this for so long. And moving forward, I would say I've had a 75% decrease in my PTSD symptoms. Do I still have PTSD? Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
But am I crushed by it? No.
Yeah.
I'm not.
It's pretty amazing.
It is. And I know it's legal in a couple states and decriminalized in Colorado, good old Colorado's. In Oregon, of course. So there are some avenues for finding this legally now, which is amazing. And if people are interested, I suggest talk to your physician about it. if that's the road you're
How would you recommend even bringing that up? I mean, to your doctor.
What's interesting is they're fascinated.
Yeah.
And I'm open about it with my treatment team.
Sure.
And I think it's more that they're interested, and
sure.
rather than I didn't feel judgment or anything like that. It was more of their sincere interest in learning about it when I talked to them about it.
Yeah, yeah.
And, people are becoming more and more aware.
Yeah, I feel like, even in the last couple months, and actually a couple of my previous guests have mentioned, that they were at a convention or something pretty recently, and there was a whole presentation on it. So, I mean, it is up and coming. It sounds like, it is gaining traction in the medical world. So that's really cool that, you talk a little bit about things kind of landing. It's interesting because we were having these conversations, and then, you had reached out to me about doing this podcast, and it's pretty cool how it all worked out. But I've definitely been fascinated by it, more unconventional treatment options, because I feel like so many times people go, their whole lives and they don't find a solution, and there's so much suffering out there. So just to find something, even if 75% of your symptoms have reduced, I mean, that's a win, right?
Amen. It is such a win.
So are you doing anything, additional outside of the treatment? I mean, are you still doing talk therapy? Are you still doing to address the PTSD, or was it just kind of I did the treatment and it's just kind of ease the symptoms?
Yeah. So the bipolar disorder kind of keeps me always in therapy,
Yeah.
And I have a psychiatric nurse practitioner. So I do have a great team.
Yeah.
My primary care doctor. I've worked with psychiatrists, and they're like, I go to therapy. Everybody should go to therapy.
Right.
And I'm like, yeah. I love when professionals are like destigmatizing to each other too.
Yeah.
There's that stigma extra. There's that extra stigma with the healthcare professionals. So
Right.
So yeah, talk therapy, love that. I also, do the things like exercise, nutrition, the fun stuff.
Right.
Sleep is sacred for people with bipolar disorder, so I try and go to bed at the same time every night, get up at the same time every morning.
Yeah.
Really, having bipolar disorder is a lifestyle.
Yeah.
It's something that affects you every day. But yes, in the PTSD, of course, that's other animal.
Yeah.
But it thankfully, and I'm so thankful that it is more, what's the word? I don't want to say tolerable, but probably tolerable. It's more manageable. It's in a space where I can generally work through.
Yeah. I mean, I was actually just recently diagnosed with PTSD myself. In treatment, they actually did an evaluation, so I wasn't surprised by that, but it definitely was like something for me to hang my hat on, I guess. It made sense. But yeah, so I do have a few questions here that I have written down.
Sure.
If we didn't already answer them. So, how do you address the stigma or misconceptions surrounding the psilocybin treatment, especially concerning mental health conditions?
The stigma. I think people are a little surprised when I'm willing to just talk about it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the first step, is just talking about it and just normalizing this. Obviously, this podcast today, a big goal was to talk about a different treatment that people could obviously tap into potentially.
Sure. Yeah.
But also destigmatizing treatment as well.
Yeah.
A lot of people are afraid to get help and
or to advocate for themselves.
Absolutely.
To try different things. Some people have, been down this road, and not necessarily with the psilocybin, but just with different treatments. So being able to advocate for yourself and No, that's great.
Yeah. One other thing that it has helped me is blood pressure medication called Prazosin.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And I take that at bedtime. It decreases the startle reflex. And so when I was having night terrors and significant nightmares, that really helped. That really helped. My dad actually, well, he passed away recently, but he was in Vietnam, and I begged him for years to try Prazosin.
Yeah.
He was not wanting to.
He was not having it.
Resistant little man. Yes, and so he finally did, and he's like, "Okay, this does work. Damn it!"
Wow. Oh, that's good. So, Prazosin, you said.
Right, and it's a blood pressure med, which is kind of a nice, like, you're like, oh, that's not an antipsychotic or a...
Right, just kind of what chills you out a little bit.
Yeah, well, yeah, it decreases that, like, reflex at night where you'd... I've worked with some soldiers, in my profession, and you have to realize, like, they, we had a nurse get tackled, because you have to, like, kick the bed or different things that they've come up with so they don't, because of their PTSD.
Right. Yeah.
Which is so significant and difficult. Yeah.
Based on your journey, what advice or insights would you have to offer individuals considering or exploring alternative treatments? And I think you kind of answered that.
Well, I would say, like, don't give up.
Yeah.
There's so many treatment options. Don't give up.
Yeah.
There's always something around the corner. There's always a new treatment coming up. Don't give up.
What self-care practices or coping mechanisms wow, I can't talk, have you found effective in managing your symptoms?
So for me, my dad passed recently, and I've had a hard time with it. I think anyone who knows me knows that I'm struggling. I found kickboxing. And punching and kicking is amazing.
Yeah.
It's non-destructive, but it feels just so good on your body, and you can just, like, punch and kick and just get that out of your body.
Yeah.
Another thing I use is a weighted ball. We have a cement floor in our lower level, so I can just slam that bad boy until I'm, like,
tired. There you go. Okay. Like a medicine ball.
Yes.
Or is it a slam ball? I guess I don't know.
It's like a 14-pound medicine ball.
Yeah.
Swimming laps.
Okay.
Feeling your body just, like, so smooth through the water. It's just amazing. I took swimming lessons a couple of years ago, and I like to mix things up.
Yeah.
Quite a bit. So swimming has been a really great thing for me.
Yeah.
And we're so blessed to have a pool right here in town.
Yeah.
So I
take advantage of that.
Oh, yes. Our family loves it.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So those are a couple of the things. Again, sleep. I can't really tell you how important this is. It's so important. Try and get your sleep on a schedule.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it seems like, that's just a little thing. No, it's huge.
It's huge, yeah.
It's huge. And people who know me know that sleep is sacred, and I'm probably not going to be out of the house after 8.
Yeah.
And that's all right.
Well, and another thing, too, you're incredibly busy. You have a lot of stuff going on. You were sharing with me a few of your other projects that you have going, last time we met.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing.
Well, I try and stay... I don't know if the right word is busy, but I try to see how I can give back.
Yeah.
My husband and I are on a board for a homeless shelter, and we're so proud of that work. And we're so proud of the staff and the individuals that are in charge of the homeless shelters. Like, they're doing the work. They are doing the work, and it's beautiful, and it's beautiful to be a part of it. We just had a fundraiser. Right now we're working on a kettle campaign. It's something near and dear to my heart.
Yeah. And I don't know if you can share the organization or not, but you're more than welcome to if you'd like.
Oh, so Grace Place.
Oh, Grace Place, yeah.
Yep, in our house. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well.
Amazing people.
Yeah. Yeah, they're a huge part of the western Wisconsin area. It's actually, I think it's the only shelter in this area now.
Right. Eau Claire is next.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. And our house is coming up. It is on the Polk Barren line.
Oh, you were telling me about that.
Yeah. So that one's coming along.
Okay. And it's called Our House?
I believe so, yeah. Our House, yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's see. I don't want to repeat myself, but lastly, what do you envision for the future concerning mental health treatments, alternative therapies like psilocybin, to support people? What would you like to see?
I really think we're just in the beginning phases of psilocybin and other hallucinogenics being used for mental illness. I think it's an exciting time for all of us.
Yeah.
I think it's an exciting time for people to find wellness. I think it's an exciting time, just advancing our options. It's huge. Like, for me, I'm hopeful. I have hope that people are going to be able to access this.
Yeah.
At some time. There's so many different areas that it can help. And like I said, hospice, I'm like, I hope we can have this available to people in hospice if they want to have that.
Yeah. Just that healing experience,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, do you have any last thoughts?
Oh my goodness. I feel like I have so much to say, but I'm like, did I say it all?
I know. I feel like you could honestly probably be on multiple episodes with your expertise and
you're kind.
But, obviously in the future, if you ever want to join me again, I just appreciate you being so vulnerable and sharing your story. I think my goal here obviously is to explore these different paths and talk to people with the lived experience and kind of shed some of the stigma associated with some of these mental health challenges. So I just appreciate you joining me so much. And yeah.
Well, thank you for having me. I was listening to your first podcast and I thought, I really want to be a part of that.
Yeah.
I want to be a part of the change and the part of the, education and understanding and different things that can happen and, my story, and maybe it can help one person or
That's
two.
what it's all about.
Yeah.
That's what I always say. If it helps one person, then you know what? We did our job. So, well,
Yes.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for joining us on this inspiring journey of strength and recovery. If you found this episode meaningful, please consider subscribing to The Pure Perspective to stay updated on our upcoming episodes. Your support means the world to us, and by sharing these stories, you're helping to spread hope and resilience to those who may need it most. Remember, you're not alone on your journey, and together we can make a difference. Subscribe now, and let's keep moving forward one story at a time.